Hold on tight, because some of these games are about to get a brutal fatality. We are diving deep into the Mortal Kombat universe, ranking every single game from the absolute worst to the undisputed champion. Since its explosive debut in 1992, Mortal Kombat has been a relentless force in the fighting game world, constantly pushing boundaries and delivering over-the-top action that's become its trademark. While it might not always match the strategic complexity of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat counters with a potent blend of extreme violence, a wealth of content, and a storyline that's, well, let's just say it's uniquely bonkers. The franchise has never shied away from innovation, fearlessly experimenting with new mechanics and ideas, some landing with a resounding finish and others, not so much. Over the decades, we've seen a barrage of Mortal Kombat titles, and in this ranking, we're consolidating entries. So, you won't find Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 listed separately, but both are definitely considered in the overall ranking. Buckle up, because here we go. 16. Mortal Kombat Special Forces. Let's not sugarcoat it, Mortal Kombat Special Forces isn't just the worst Mortal Kombat game, it's often cited as one of the worst games ever made. And that's saying something in the vast landscape of video game history. Series co-creator Ed Boon himself admitted the game's development was, shall we say, bumpy. A major contributing factor was the departure of John Tobias, another co-creator, midway through the project. But here's where it gets controversial. Can a troubled development cycle truly excuse a game's shortcomings? Even acknowledging the behind-the-scenes turmoil, it's impossible to justify ranking Special Forces any higher. The premise of playing as Jax in an action-adventure setting sounds promising on paper, but the execution is a complete disaster. Awful level design, repetitive gameplay, and a general lack of polish combine to create an experience that most players quickly abandoned. It's a game best left forgotten in the NetherRealm of bad video games. 15. Mortal Kombat Onslaught. If Special Forces didn't exist, Onslaught would be a clear contender for the bottom spot. This mobile game attempted to blend beat-em-up action with RPG elements, but it forgot one crucial ingredient: fun. Instead, it felt like a blatant cash grab, driven by predatory gotcha mechanics. And this is the part most people miss. Mobile game development can be tricky, but did the Mortal Kombat name automatically excuse the lack of gameplay innovation and focus on monetization? Onslaught's failure was so profound that it was shut down after just a year. While the Mortal Kombat team has had its share of stumbles, none, besides Special Forces, crashed and burned as spectacularly as Onslaught. 14. Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat 4 marked a significant transition, bringing the series into the realm of 3D graphics. It also foreshadowed a key element of future games: weapons. However, Mortal Kombat 4 falls short of the lofty standards set by its predecessors, particularly in the story department. It's infamous for its unintentionally hilarious endings, especially Jax's, which features voice acting that rivals the original Resident Evil in terms of sheer awkwardness. But here's where it gets controversial. Is it fair to judge a game from the late 90s by today's standards of voice acting and storytelling? Regardless, Mortal Kombat 4 remains a divisive entry in the series. 13. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. It's somewhat baffling that Mythologies Sub-Zero predates Special Forces. While far from perfect, it's a more ambitious and interesting failure. The blend of action-adventure gameplay and live-action cutscenes was at least a novel concept. The platforming sections are notoriously unforgiving, and the combat can become monotonous, but it was a worthwhile experiment. For all the criticism Sub-Zero receives, it paved the way for features like Conquest Mode. Plus, it expanded the series beyond the confines of the tournament, opening up new storytelling possibilities. And this is the part most people miss. These early experiments, despite their flaws, were crucial in shaping the future direction of the Mortal Kombat universe. 12. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe is a decent game that makes reasonable use of its crossover license. Adding DC superheroes to the mix was initially exciting, but it quickly became apparent that building an entire game around them was a misstep. The combat was solid at times, but features like close combat and freefall combat felt clunky and slowed down the pace. The biggest issue, however, was the lack of the series' signature gore. It's understandable that DC wouldn't want Sub-Zero ripping out Batman's spine, but why create a Mortal Kombat game if you're unwilling to fully embrace its identity? But here's where it gets controversial. Could a less restrictive rating have elevated this game and satisfied longtime MK fans? 11. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Some players might rank Armageddon higher. As the final chapter in the original series, it boasts an almost complete roster of returning characters. However, this left little room for compelling new additions. The Conquest mode is also a point of contention. While I appreciate the ambition, I preferred the RPG focus of Deception's Conquest mode over Armageddon's action-oriented approach. And while Creative Fatality was a fun novelty, the limitations of the system pale in comparison to the meticulously crafted fatalities developed by Midway. And this is the part most people miss. Armageddon's sheer scope ultimately worked against it, sacrificing depth for breadth. 10. Mortal Kombat. It feels strange to place the original Mortal Kombat so low on this list. It's a legendary game that revolutionized the fighting game genre. However, this ranking is based on quality, not historical significance. The first MK is a solid game, but it's undeniably simplistic compared to later entries. You could argue for moving it up a few spots, but the truth is that its sequels refine and improve upon everything that made it great. Therefore, it remains relatively low on the list, while still acknowledging its profound impact in 1992. But here's where it gets controversial. Can nostalgia ever truly be separated from critical assessment? 9. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Deadly Alliance holds a special place in my heart. It was one of the first games I owned on my GameCube, and I was captivated by the 3D fighting and the ability to switch fighting styles. While some fans may not appreciate new characters like Bo Rai Cho, Li Mei, and Ken Shi, they're among my favorites. The refreshed combat system turned off some players, but the added depth is something the series has continued to build upon. Deadly Alliance also introduced Conquest mode, though it wasn't as fleshed out as it would become in Deception. It was a strong first step in a new direction, but it suffered from some technical limitations. The absence of Liu Kang was also a questionable decision. But here's where it gets controversial. Was the risk of changing the gameplay with new characters worth it? 8. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Speaking of Liu Kang, the series' protagonist finally starred in his own spin-off in 2005. Midway had been trying to create a successful side game for years, and they finally achieved it with this action-adventure title featuring Liu Kang and Kung Lao as they fight through the Mortal Kombat 2 storyline. It was a clever mix of traditional Mortal Kombat movement and a combo system reminiscent of games like God of War. The co-op mode provided an excellent way to play with friends. Given the history of MK spin-offs, it's understandable that some fans overlooked it, but it was good enough to warrant a sequel, which unfortunately fell through due to financial challenges. And this is the part most people miss. Shaolin Monks demonstrated the potential for the Mortal Kombat universe to expand beyond traditional fighting games. 7. Mortal Kombat 1. The most recent mainline game, Mortal Kombat 1, is a fantastic fighter. Some players dislike the cameo system, but I believe it adds a layer of freshness, providing new strategic possibilities. My main issue with